Mr. Kojima?
Metal Gear Solid is a series known for delivering a cinematic experience that pushed the boundaries of what was possible on the platforms it came to, but its portable offerings seemed to get overshadowed by the console releases. Despite this, one of its mainline titles found its home on the PlayStation Portable, a little handheld system that was arguably years ahead of its time. But was this portable game able to hold its own against the console offerings all those years ago, or was it a game worth forgetting? That's what we're going to find out. In November of 2004, Kojima Productions and Konami dropped Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, potentially one of the best Metal Gear Solid titles to date. Not only was this a prequel to the earlier titles, making this an experience that was easy for newcomers to jump into, but it offered a whole host of new gameplay mechanics and refinements that were built on from the previous release. Levels were opened up to allow for more exploration, survival mechanics were introduced that required you to hunt for food and attend to your wounds, and a camo system was added that encouraged you doing your best to blend into your environment. Needless to say, Metal Gear Solid 3 was a big game, and putting a game that expensive on a portable platform at the time seemed impossible. But something was about to come out that would make that impossibility more of a reality, because just a month after Metal Gear Solid 3, we got the PSP. Or at least Japan did. Regional releases varied a lot back in the day. The PSP is a bit like a PlayStation 1.5. It's not quite on the PS2's level of fidelity, but somehow it's damn close. But if you're as old as me, you don't need me to explain the PSP to you. But it is worth mentioning that outside of the weaker horsepower, it does have a few drawbacks that are worth considering. The PSP doesn't have analog sticks, analog triggers, or an extra set of shoulder buttons, meaning that controls are going to have to make a serious compromise. And that'll be interesting to see how they've translated in the Metal Gear experience, considering Metal Gear Solid 3 used all of those extra buttons, as well as the PS2's pressure-sensitive buttons. It's safe to say that they had a laundry list of challenges to overcome if they wanted to bring the Metal Gear Solid experience to a portable platform, but they wouldn't waste any time getting their best effort on store shelves.
Your uniform. It's not like that.
Just 2 years after the PSP's launch, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops was released in December 2006. Regardless of what technicality Kojima likes to flip-flop on if you ask him, Portable Ops would aim to be more of a spin-off than a mainline release. This version of the game features no story, instead having you complete aimless missions as random soldiers that you kidnap to recruit to your team. And after spending a few hours with this game, I was genuinely getting confused. So this is the entire game. Just run around these small, oddly designed levels, seeing how many soldiers you can monotonously drag to your truck? Well, there was a big multiplayer component to this game, which would explain the odd layouts of the levels, but of course it's long since been discontinued. So after feeling like this game didn't have much game to it, I decided to do a little research, and I discovered that I wasn't playing Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, I was playing Portable Ops Plus, a multiplayer-focused component that released a year after Portable Ops. Well, that explains a lot. So now that we're on Portable Ops, we start off with a story that's a little more familiar, taking place in a prison cell that has the worst security measures ever. The story actually takes place after the events in Metal Gear Solid 3, which, according to Kojima, makes it arguably canon. Well, I guess it depends on what day you ask him. He seems a little unsure about it himself. This is the first time you meet Roy Campbell, a returning character in the series, as well as other returning characters through cutscenes in your codec. You may have left Metal Gear Solid 3 a hero, but you start off Portable Ops as the villain in the eyes of the US, being forced to work with Campbell behind the scenes to clear your name. The only problem is that you're an army of two.
Back me up.
Cool game. So you're going to need a lot more help on your side if you want to complete the mission. This is where Portable Ops introduces the squad system, a unique gameplay element that would be used by later titles. You can recruit new soldiers to your cause by knocking them out and dragging them back to your truck. They'll sit in a holding unit for a short amount of time before being able to get divided amongst your different teams. Metal Gear Solid has always been very good about making every element in the gameplay feel important.
But how do they taste?
Huh?
Do they taste good?
You're actually going to eat one.
And Portable Ops is no different, giving each soldier you capture a name and a special attribute to make them suitable for different jobs. Some will heal up your team faster in the medic unit, some are good at gathering intel and supplies in the spy unit, and some are quicker on their feet in the sneaking unit, making for easier combat or having the ability to immediately send supplies to your camp. So it's safe to say that this new squad system bleeds into the core gameplay of Portable Ops. When you start a mission, your sneaking unit will appropriately be hiding in cardboard boxes just waiting to be swapped up to. When playing other soldiers in the unit, you can blend into enemy territory and take advantage of those previously mentioned abilities they offer. This works as a really good way to balance out the gameplay. Snake might be fast and powerful, but he'll stick out like a sore thumb. Your crew might have an easier time getting into restricted areas, but if a superior catches you doing something strange, you have a lot less health and stamina to work with.
Damn it, we lost one. Select the next soldier immediately.
And building your squad is a great way to break up the gameplay in between the main story, giving these smaller levels more replay value. But don't be fooled, the core gameplay is still the same stealth-based action that the series is known for. If you've played 2 or 3, you'll feel right at home with the sneaking, rolling, and combat introduced in the sequels. You can still catch enemies by surprise,
Breeze.
holding them up, shaking them down, or forcing them to give you intel. Combat is that same janky CQC that'll have you spamming kicks while the enemy gets up multiple times, and you can still knock out the enemies with a well-placed tranquilizer headshot. It's still so impressive to me that within the span of 3 years, Metal Gear Solid went from spraying and praying from fixed camera angles to immersive first-person combat. And not too long after that, they figured out how to cram it into a handheld experience. But that's not to say that it didn't come with some drawbacks. While the gameplay itself is damn near feature complete, the PSP is still missing quite a few buttons and a second analog stick. The camera inconveniently hangs at times, requiring you to snap it back in place with the shoulder button or move around to fix it. This can be especially problematic in combat, where I could easily lose track of where the enemies went as soon as I knocked them out of view. I think the experience in Portable Ops is impressive compared to its console counterparts, but you will start noticing some of the drawbacks the longer you play. David Hayter reprises his role in the cutscenes where the voice acting and flow is what you'd expect from the series.
The meaning of justice can change from one day to the next.
But cutscenes are delivered in comic book style animations this time around, and the codec calls are unfortunately missing the voice acting. Otherwise, it's still the same convoluted narrative that mentions a new character or motivation every 5 minutes. So if you like lengthy lore dumps, Portable Ops is full of them.
He was raised in a special way, under very special conditions, to be a great warrior.
Despite the mixed reception and the alterations made to fit this mammoth series on a handheld, Portable Ops was proof that it could still work in a small form factor. It'd be nice if they could clean it up with modern controls and hell, maybe even add voice acting to the codec sequences, but who knows, maybe Portable Ops will be locked behind the PSP forever. One entry that won't, however, is Peace Walker.
But in Revolution, doesn't one triumph or die?
We don't do either.
Following the release of Metal Gear Solid 4, which is still locked behind the PS3 by the way, Peace Walker released in April of 2010 and would be a mainline entry despite only being released on the PSP, at least initially. You can immediately see that Peace Walker got a substantial budget increase this time around, featuring impressive visuals, voice acting throughout the entire experience, and refined gameplay mechanics that allow for smoother combat. Story is delivered through cutscenes that are now not only rendered in real time, but also delivered through comic book style slides that are interactive this time around. And of course you get your codec tips that can now be played in real time as you're playing.
Head for the FSL and Snake! Help us reclaim peace!
We're counting on you, boss.
Head for the FS...
Point being, it's a notable step up in quality from Portable Ops. Depending on what you consider canon, Peace Walker also takes place shortly after the events in Snake Eater, putting you and the unit you organize in the middle of Costa Rica on a mission to stop the execution of nuclear warfare. But this time, with AI and legs. You'll meet a cast of new and familiar faces that'll help you along your journey, all being as well voiced and as interesting as any other Metal Gear title.
Call me Snake.
Snake. That name seems familiar somehow.
That's probably just deja vu.
It's campy, emotional, and has that quirky direct translation from Japanese that makes localization choices interesting. Hell, I'd say that the characters in this game punch above its weight considering it's a PSP game, but that could be said about Peace Walker across the board. Refined combat allows you to chain together attacks while being surrounded by multiple enemies, while menu access is done in real time. This requires you to be a little more strategic when it comes to swapping items, weapons, or using gadgets, all of which are acquired a little bit differently this time around. Like Portable Ops, you can acquire soldiers to join your team and help out at your base camp. But in Peace Walker, this base camp concept has been expanded to the Mother Base, a hub where your soldiers are actively working to research areas and develop items. Every item that you use in Peace Walker is obtained by researching it at your Mother Base. As you add new members to your team, your rank will go up for each category. Once your rank goes up, you'll have the ability to research more items. Everything from a new weapon to a box of spicy curry is developed with the currency you earn from the missions and new recruits, which is a cool way to give the player flexibility to grind for what they find important. You can research higher level supply boxes and more evacuation balloons to recruit more soldiers, or you can research weaponry that'll help you fight your way through boss encounters. Much like our daily life now, you'll encounter a lot of AI-powered machinery that you'll need to take out.
Aim for the cylindrical AI pod!
These guys are bullet sponges that require a lot of firepower, which is where the aforementioned Mother Base comes into play. As you acquire ammo and soldiers throughout the level, they'll get sent back to the Mother Base for use later. This is the gameplay loop that separates Peace Walker from its other entries, but the Mother Base isn't the only change. While the story plays out like a typical mainline game, the missions are structured between short segments rather than one long playthrough. This was a change that was done most likely due to the portable nature of the platform, but it's a change that makes Peace Walker feel notably different to play. Unlike the single level format of Portable Ops, levels in Peace Walker are split up into multiple sections, similar to Metal Gear Solid 3. The problem is that the linear fashion of these levels leaves certain areas blocked off by floating graphics that are a little immersion breaking. But I also feel like these levels lend themselves to gameplay that is a little less stealth focused this time around. You move through a lot of these levels fairly quickly, and since you no longer move bodies around, yeah, that was removed, they'll either disappear or get shot into the air as soon as you hook them to a balloon, which the other AI won't notice you doing, by the way. You rarely have to worry about soldiers finding bodies, but you also rarely have to worry about soldiers finding you. The camo system from Snake Eater has been carried over here, giving you a percentage of visibility based on your environment and your movement in it. Well, you can't crawl anymore, so that's one less layer of verticality to worry about, but it feels like you don't have to worry about crawling or hiding much at all. I'm not sure how any of these highly trained soldiers made it past training, because they must have the worst visibility I've ever had to fight up against in a game. You can walk just about anywhere in the wide open area directly in front of these soldiers and they won't notice you. It doesn't matter what you're wearing or if it's a patrolling unit or a sniper staring directly down an open field you're running around in. They also can't hear very well either. They almost never notice me until I'm within arm's reach of them taking them out. They'll still call for backup if you don't stop them in time or surrender when you catch them off guard, but the AI feels like they're much less of a threat this time around. The levels aren't as fun to explore if there's much room to explore at all, and while this probably benefits the overall flow of the game for a handheld, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny when you put it on a console.
Oh wow, the portable game doesn't play as good on a console, who would have thought?
The version I've spent the most amount of time on is the Xbox release, which features updated graphics and modern controls that definitely improve the gameplay, but also highlight the shortcomings. That's not to say that Peace Walker is a bad game by any stretch, but you can definitely feel where they've made some concessions. In my opinion, it's like the Resident Evil Revelations and Metal Gear Solid games. The story is right up there with the other mainline games in the series. The pixelated art style for the UI blends into the rest of the game fantastically, and it's a very polished experience overall, featuring little to no hangups or game-breaking issues. But you can feel that the broad stretch of a console experience has been condensed into an episodic format. The lack of dragging knocked out enemies, crawling, aiming in first person, and even moving while your back is against a wall make it feel more streamlined than traditional, but the addition of the Mother Base, new gadgets, side missions, and even co-op might make up for some of that. I guess it depends on who you ask. I personally would have loved to try the co-op, but I don't know anybody else with a copy. The PS3 version even features cross-save with the PSP, making Peace Walker one of the very few games that was doing the Nintendo Switch thing almost a decade before the Nintendo Switch. You know, it's kind of funny. Despite the criticisms of Portable Ops, I like that it still played like a mainline game. And despite the alterations to Peace Walker, it's an undeniably polished experience that was punching above its weight for the platform. And then there's the other portable experiences. Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2 were turn-based anime spin-offs that also came to the PSP. I'm not personally the fan of this type of game, so I wasn't too interested in checking it out, but it looks good if you're a fan of this type of thing. There was also Metal Gear Mobile, a phone and Nokia N-Gage game made by Ideaworks in 2008. It almost looks like Metal Gear Solid 1.5 in its gameplay and visual presentation, but considering that this was a total offshoot game, I didn't want to shoehorn it in here. I also don't have an old Nokia to play it on. But I do have a Metal Gear Solid 3 video that you can check out if you enjoyed this one, and I also have channel members to thank for contributing to the channel. Nanacon2, Exeat, Joking Bomb, and Scotty have been holding it down for over 3 years. I am so sorry for whatever I was making 3 years ago. But we also have Ryan Gagney and Arcanum joining the credits, which is pretty cool, man. These guys actually knew that this video was coming a week ago. And you can also get the same super exclusive behind the scenes insider information from becoming a channel member, emojis included. Thanks to everybody else for giving this video a shot. I really appreciate it. If you have any thoughts on this series or anything else I should cover, drop it in the comments. Make sure you liked it if you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. It's been Josh, aka T. I'll see you in the next one. Alexa, play Metal Gear Solid by Big Baby Scumbag. That was a joke. I don't have an Alexa. And not too long after that, they figured out how to cram it in a fucking portable.
This is Gigi, everybody. Say hi, Gigi. He's our new child. Oh, okay.
Much like our, oh shit, there goes the PSP. Right onto the floor.